The Toronto Raptors surprised a lot of people at this year's NBA draft when they took Scottie Barnes with the 4th overall pick. But many people also believe that Scottie Barnes has a ton of potential and could end up being one of the most versatile players in the NBA in the future. So in today's video, we'll talk about Scottie Barnes, whether or not he was the right pick for the Raptors, and whether or not he could become a star for them in the future. Let's get right into it. If you have not already, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm uploading videos every single week and your support goes a long way. But anyways, getting into things, leading up to the NBA draft, most people assumed that with the number 4 overall pick, the Raptors would draft Jalen Suggs. As a Raptors fan, I'll be the first to admit that Jalen Suggs was the guy that I wanted us to draft. I was a little bit disappointed when we did take Scottie Barnes over him, but I've gotten over it now and I do see the potential in Scottie Barnes. I hope that the Raptors have a vision to build around him because I think that if he can develop and he can reach his full potential, he will be a very dangerous player in the NBA for many years. Scottie Barnes is considered a point forward, meaning that he is a big man with guard skills and tendencies. He dribbles the ball well, he passes the ball well, you can run the offense through him and give him those floor general responsibilities, and it will be just as efficient and effective as running the offense through a point guard. Point forward type of players are in high demand in today's NBA. You see how effective it can be with guys like LeBron James, Ben Simmons, Nikola Jokic, and Draymond Green, who Scottie Barnes has gotten a lot of comparisons to. The biggest reason that Scottie Barnes has gotten a lot of Draymond Green comparisons is not only because of his point forward tendencies, his great passing, but it's also because of his versatility as a defender. Many people consider Scottie Barnes the most versatile defender in this draft, or one of them. Scottie Barnes can defend 1 through 5 pretty efficiently because of his size, because of his length, and because of how well he moves for a big man. You obviously can't expect any rookie player just coming into the NBA to turn into a defensive player of the year champion basketball player like Draymond Green is, but with Scottie Barnes' athleticism, with his size and length, with his versatility as a defender, I definitely think he has that potential, and I definitely think that he could even end up being better than Draymond Green if he reaches that ceiling. However, just because Scottie does have a lot of potential and a very high ceiling, it does not necessarily mean that it is a given. He still has a lot of development to do, especially on the offensive end. He's a very raw player, and that was pretty obvious in his freshman season at Florida State. In his one season at FSU, Scottie Barnes averaged 10.3 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists per game, on 50% shooting from the field and 28% from the 3-point line. He also averaged 1.5 steals per game and 0.5 blocks per game. Those numbers are not bad by any means, and keep in mind that this was his one freshman season at Florida State, so it's a very small sample size when he's a very young player, but for a star player, they are definitely not up to the standard of what you would want them to be, especially the shooting percentages. 50% from the field isn't terrible for a big man, but for a guy who's getting the vast majority of his shots on the inside, you'd probably want to see that percentage more in the high 50s, if not the 60s. And from the 3-point line, 28% isn't the worst it could be, but it's not very good either. If you want to be considered a shooting threat in the NBA, you need to be shooting at least in the mid-30s. Obviously, these are all things that Scottie can improve on. He has plenty of time to do it, but they are definitely things that he needs to improve if he wants to reach his full effectiveness in the NBA. I'm not worried about it. Like I said, he has plenty of time, but these are definitely weaknesses in his game at this point in time. One thing that I think is a huge plus for Scottie Barnes and the Raptors is that he pretty much perfectly fits the play style and the system that the Raptors have been running for the past several years. He's a long, athletic, versatile, defensive-minded player, which is exactly how the Raptors like to play. We've seen them develop multiple guys who were raw but had those tendencies in the past several years. Obviously, the first ones that come to mind are OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. So if anybody can turn Scottie Barnes into a star, it is definitely the Toronto Raptors. However, that being said, I don't believe that the current Raptors roster is really built for Scottie to be the star. We already have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Chris Boucher, we just picked up Precious Achiuwa. All of these guys do similar things to Scottie Barnes, and all of these guys are going to take minutes away from Scottie Barnes, which obviously means it is going to take longer for him to develop. As much as it pains me to say this, for the sake of Scottie's development and for the sake of future Raptors success, I think that the best course of action would be to trade Pascal Siakam. He's in the prime of his career, his trade value is high. Right now, we could get draft picks, we could get other young players to fit around Scottie Barnes rather than take minutes away from him. Pascal Siakam has been great for us for many years. He was a huge part of our championship run. He's been a star player for us, but at this point in time, he doesn't really fit our plans. While he would add a few more wins shouldn't be our focus right now. Developing our young talent and adding more young talent should be our focus, and unfortunately, Pascal Siakam kind of hurts what we're trying to do as a team. If the Raptors trade Siakam, it would open up the opportunity for Scottie to become the starter and get the experience and minutes he needs to develop, because while he does have a ton of potential, while he has star player type of potential, he's definitely a few years from actually being that. Obviously, the more minutes he gets, the more experience he gets, is going to speed up that process, so that is why a trade in my mind just makes sense. I said earlier that I didn't think that the current Raptors roster was built for Scottie Barnes to be a star, but I definitely think that they have a few young players who would fit with Scottie well and who could be a huge part of this Raptors rebuild. OG Anunoby is a guy that the Raptors definitely don't want to give up. He's an elite two-way player. Many people think he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. He can knock down threes. He's developed a ton in his time with the Raptors. He's a guy who you can put anywhere on the court and he's going to do his job. He can defend 1 through 5 almost pretty much like Scottie. So like I said, he's a guy that the Raptors are going to want to keep. Gary Trent Jr. is a great scorer, great three-point shooter. I think that he is going to be a huge part of this Raptors rebuild, especially for the next few seasons. Malachi Flynn is a guy who struggled a little bit in his rookie season, but he looked very good in this year's Summer League, and I think that if he gets a little bit more time to develop, he could be the starting point guard for this team in the future. And then we traded for Precious Achiuwa. Many people think that he has a ton of potential. I think that he could end up being a very, very good center in the NBA. Obviously, he needs time to develop as well, but all of these guys playing together, getting experience together, obviously building around Scottie Barnes, I think that this is the right path to go, and I think that if the Raptors make a few changes, they are in a very, very good position. Scottie has a lot of work to do, the Raptors have a lot of work to do, but they are definitely capable of fulfilling the potential that they have. And even though I wanted Jalen Suggs, I think that in a few years, myself and Raptors fans will be very, very happy with Scottie Barnes if he develops how we all know he can, and if the Raptors make the few small changes that I talked about. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you think that Scottie Barnes will be the star of the Raptors in the future. Let me know if you think he was the right pick for the team and what you think his ceiling is. Remember to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I will see you in the next one.